All right, and good morning. So Desmos Scientific is what I recommend that you use when you're doing any of your science calculations because it has sine, cosine, square root, and exponents right there on the main line. You can use the keypad or your own keyboard to type in anything like mean if you wanted to get the mean. And function has some additional ones like your arc sine so that you can do and find the angles at the end. So lots of good information here, plus natural log, logs, pi. So lots of good information that you're going to use for science class. The other reason why I say scientific is because scientific defaults to degrees, whereas the graphing calculator defaults to radians. And most of the time we're going to be using degrees. All right, so a couple other things. If you wanted to divide, you could use the divided on the keypad, or on your keyboard, you would type in that slash. Multiply is the asterisk or the shift, and usually the number 8 will get you to that asterisk. The caret is how you would do the exponents. Okay, so 10 to the 23rd. And you would have that 23rd in that superscript area. You would write that as 10 caret 23, and it would show up that way. Or you could use the keypad AB. So I could type in 10 AB and then 23, and that puts it right up in that superscript area. And in this case, it gave it to me in scientific notation. So lots of little pluses with using this calculator. The other reason why I do recommend it is that when you are using exponents, you don't have to worry about the EE button or parentheses as much because it has a divisor. So if I am going to say 10 divided by Avogadro's number, so 10 divided by Avogadro's, what's Avogadro's number? 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Now I did that all by typing it into the keyboard, but you could have also typed it in this way, 10 divided by 6.02 times 10 to the AB to the 23rd. And you notice you're going to get that same exact answer. What's nice, it put the whole Avogadros in the divisor area or underneath the divisor bar. If you were typing this in on your calculator and you type 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, it would have flipped the 10 to the 23rd to the numerator because it was thinking that you are multiplying everything by 10 to the 23rd, not just 6.02. So if you're not using Desmos, make sure you have parentheses there, or you use 6.02 and then the EE button on your calculator. All of those work the same. If I was typing this in as Canvas for an answer, 1.66 EE to the negative 23 is what you'd have to plug it into Canvas for it to recognize it. Okay, and that EE just means times 10 to the something. Okay. And that was rounded to 3 sig figs. Could I rounded it to 1 sig fig? Absolutely. If I want to do it in proper sig figs, that would be 2 EE to the negative 23rd would be your answer. Because that 10 has 1 sig fig, one number, no decimal seen, so that trailing zero is not important. So I underline one number. I'm rounding to the nearest ones. Okay. And 1.66 is closer to 2 than it is to 1. So always look at that next number for rounding up. What's cool about Desmos is, yes, you can also use it for your rounding in many cases, not in all cases. So if I have a number like this one, okay, I can round that number. What do I type in? Round, parenthesis, and then this little ANS button, you can type in ANS or you can just click ANS, and look what it did. It brought in my number from the time before. I'm going to take out one of those decimals because I do need it to be in the decimal area. So round the answer, comma, and here's where Desmos is nice. You type in how many decimal places. So if I'm looking at this one, the 1 here is 0 decimal places. This first 6 is 1 decimal place. The second 6 is 2 decimal places. So if I wanted to round this guy to 1 decimal place, I would just say, comma, 1. It's outside the parenthesis again. Okay. And that rounded it to 4.6 because it had 4.56. So I'm rounding to 1 decimal place. That 6 tells me the 5 rounds up. Okay. What if I wanted to round that to 2 decimal places? Then comma 2 would be what I did. And it's 4.56 because that 0 next to the 6 tells me I'm not going to round up 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places. How about if I want to round to 3 decimal places? Okay, and then it would be, again, 4.56, but you know in chemistry class, when we're concerned a lot about sig figs, you would write 4.560. That's how you get the 4 sig figs, because the trailing 0 is important, because I see the decimal and 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places. Will it do 0 decimal places? Absolutely, it will do 0 places. Okay, and 0 decimal places is the same as rounding to the nearest ones. Okay, 1 decimal place is the same as rounding to the nearest 10th. 2 decimal places, rounding to the nearest 100th. Okay, so lots of information in there. What if I wanted to go the other way and I had a super large number? Okay, then I'm going to be using the negative sign. Okay, so if I had 657, comma 890, comma 101. Okay, that is my number here. So again, type in round, parenthesis, answer, comma. Not know why it does not like my answer. Maybe it doesn't like the commas. 657, 890, 101. There we go. And now it likes it. And I'm going to round this one to 0 decimal places, same as we did before. What else could I do? I can write it to -1 decimal places. That means round it to the nearest 1, nearest 10. No, let me look. Okay, no, that's also now to the nearest 1. So that one works both directions. Okay. How about if I put round to the -2? Okay. -2 is round to the nearest tenths. -3 is round to the nearest 100. See how that goes? Okay, because 100 has 3 places that way. So we're going the opposite of the decimal places by 3. Tens has 2, ones has 1. So the negative there just means the opposite. The one thing that struggles with is scientific notation. So if you're really having trouble with scientific notation, let's say your number is 1.45 times should not be the x times 10 to the 23rd. You had to round this to 1 decimal place. You would just type round. You can't type today. Round, parentheses, 1.456. And I want to round that to what? If I'm rounding it to 2 sig figs, then I'd be rounding it to the 1 decimal place. So 1.56 to the 1 decimal place gives me 1.5, but then you have to remember your actual answer is 1.5 times 10 to the 23rd, or how Canvas likes it, 1.55 EE to the 23rd. So if you do not add back in those exponents, then your whole problem is wrong, because 1.5 is nowhere near 100 million. So I'm not going to take $1.5 if you owe me $100 million. Okay, it just does not work that way. You need the exponent to it to count. So if you are going to use this method for rounding scientific notation, just remember you then has to go back and add in your exponents at the end. And that is all. So have a great day.